Smita. I lost her. Anyway, hi everyone, I'm Maria Gillen, and I'm so pleased to welcome you here to the Paterson Literary Review issue 50 reading. And I'm just going to hold up a copy. I don't know if it's showing because I can't see my face anymore. I know it disappeared. Anyway, the artwork on the cover is Linda Hillinghouse's artwork. It's really beautiful. I love the way the magazine looks. And because Laura Boss died recently and was so intimately involved with a lot of the things that we did at the Poetry Center, I want to read one of the last poems she wrote. And I will harken back to her first book, where the first poem in the book is I Am My Father's Daughter, and about when she was 16 and her father was dying of pancreatic cancer and she was with him. I Am My Father's Daughter Redux for Marley, March 2021. My son shows me the photo on his phone's homepage of him and his daughter, Marley, from a wedding. In the background, I see the Hudson River and the New York skyline. On her face, I see her radiating beauty, sweetness, and love. These last days have been bittersweet. I flow from lucid to seemingly insane, depending on which medicine has been administered. I am so thin and frail, I don't recognize myself in the mirror. What one stands out over these last days is Marley. Marley visiting me almost daily, holding my hand, kissing me, telling me she loves me and will carry on my memory. Marley is 16, the same age I was when I watched my father die of this same disease. Just as I still stood by my father, Marley now stands by me. I am my father's daughter, and Marley is my granddaughter. And that touched me so much, particularly since I remembered that first poem in the book, Stripping, which was her first book. Anyway, so I'm going to say again, you have to mute yourself if you're not reading. Read only one, even if you had 5 poems in the anthology, in the journal, please only read 1 poem. And please do not introduce the poem or anything. Just read the title of the poem and the poem, okay? Because we have a lot of people to get through. And so we don't want, some people can't resist explaining their poem. Please don't explain your poem. If the poem doesn't work by itself, forget it. Anyway, I hate when people get up a 45-minute explanation of their poem. I'm going to start with Linda Hillinghouse from Verona, New Jersey. So Linda, will you read a poem, please?
Okay. Nice, France, for Christina Branch. To stumble across the burning stones like beginner penitents, to lie beneath beach umbrellas on blue mattresses, blinking at the sun-blinded sea, and even then, still in our 30s, dark-haired and shapely, too inhibited to take off our tops, despite topless grandmothers casually cutting fruit for their grandchildren. To hear the clattering of cafe chairs along the Promenade des Anglais, to glimpse the long-gone Crystal Casino drunkenly winking at the end of the pier, to snoop in the lobby of the Negresco like palace imposters, imagining living like courtesans in tasseled turbans and harem pants, lifting our charmed necks to survey and laugh at our lives from sunken satin pillows. Oh, we were in the suicidal joy of our days at the Hotel Étranger with its deserted lobby and vague concierge. To stand before the false balcony, the wavy balustrade warning us to turn back, take stock, as if we could. The mahogany wardrobe held the unlived dreams of another century, as we lay half-dressed on our beds, reading Hemingway and Fitzgerald in the days when we could share a room without embarrassment. On the way to the beach, we would walk past the Marché aux Fleurs with its peonies and poppies, persimmons and figs. And one evening, on the way back, in the twilight, a carousel appeared. Mermaids held up the canopy with its panels of turquoise sea and famous French painters in berets. And on the moving platform, horses with gilded tails, rictus-mouthed tigers, bejeweled elephants, and a pink onion-domed carriage. This was exactly what we lived for. Places and objects so spellbound, they must have been conjured outside of time, far from the beckoning hand of ordinary life, worlds away from the drowning pool of regret.
Okay, wonderful. Before we go to the next person, I forgot to say that we have our first in-person readings at the Poetry Center the first Saturday of December, and it's going to be two wonderful poets. One, Aria Matthews, who just won the Yale Series of Younger Poets Award, and which is a major award, to say the least. I wish I had won it. And she also was the poet laureate of Philadelphia, and she's an amazing, amazing writer. And then the other person is, and he was my student too, I've just forgotten his name, Jose Antonio Rodriguez, who is on his third book and who has done very, very well. His books are cited in the New York Times. He's had poems in the New Yorker, a number of poems in the New Yorker. So I hope you'll take the opportunity to come to the Poetry Center and either take a workshop with one of these people or come to the reading if you're in New Jersey or New York. I think they're both amazing, and it's a chance to hear two wonderful people. Jose did a workshop for us on Zoom a few months ago, and it was an amazing workshop. He really did such a beautiful job with it. So I think with both of them, you'd be getting a treat. We still have some room in the workshop, so if you want to sign up for the workshops, that would be great. But come to the reading, sign up for the workshop, and that's my plug for the Poetry Center. Our next reader is Lisa Cole Nicolao from Fair Lawn, New Jersey.
What we didn't do. 2 Decembers ago, at our last poetry retreat, Laura told me how much Henny loved dark chocolate. We were sitting in the parlor on an overstuffed couch. I wish I could remember the other details, just that we were relaxed and comfortable on the uncomfortable furniture. I remember feeling overwhelmed, as I often feel in December, with an outsized number of chores on my list. But I had left the birthday presents for our godchildren wrapped and ready for my husband to deliver. My older daughter was in Brooklyn and my younger one in Athens, and my husband had finally gotten another job. And I believed that the retreat and the coming year would be a turning point for me, that my life would be quieter, and that maybe I would have more time to write and less time to caretake. So when Laura told me that Henny was in a nursing home and that she loved dark chocolate, I promised to send her some of my favorite bars. Then the world flipped, and mine as well, and my daughters came home, and my husband's company almost closed, and I spent my days counting cans of tomatoes and rolls of toilet tissue, and I forgot about Henny, alone in her nursing home. Today, as I was packing for the retreat, searching for my travel pillow and some snacks, I opened a bag of dark chocolate hearts and felt swallowed up by my abandoned promise and all the loss. How could I pack and drive to Mendham knowing that Laura will not be greeting me in the parlor? I stood in my kitchen, the melting hearts in my hand, wishing that I had mailed that chocolate to Henny, wishing that I could have provided her last days with some sweetness. When my friend died almost a decade ago, and I was swimming in a sea of grief, I wrote my first poem about a tattoo, writing that if I had tried to get one to honor him, I would have run out of skin. Now all of us have run out of skin. We are missing parts of ourselves, and we are all grieving our personal and collective losses. Yet tomorrow, the lucky among us will get to pack up what remains and take it to our retreat, where together, in that little parlor that feels like home, we might imagine ourselves whole. Thank
Beautiful, Lisa.
you. Thank you.
Jean Fleming from Warwick, New York. Jean Fleming, I know I saw you.
Okay. Day trip to prison. Upon arrival for the Rockview Guards, I am the follow your directions to a T visitor, credentialed and quartered up vending machine queen, plastic Ziploc holding the allowables in clear view, wearing t-shirt, jeans, sandals, pockets emptied into their little black inspection box, silently cursing their x-ray tunnel, their sign-in book, their turn around while I give you the once over, and if I feel like it, the twice over, before I make you wait, wait, wait. I am waved through. The booby trap tunnel alarms. It's my underwire bra, asshole. 200 miles, 4.5 hours, only 3 hours left of visiting time. I'm turned away. Instructed to dress properly. No underwires and not braless either. And then to come back and get in line. They smile, polite like. Outside, parking lot, 80 degrees, trunk of car. I find an old sweater, torn and ragged from clipping brambles that made me bleed. Hiding from surveillance cameras. Back seat of car, I free my breasts, slip it on. Under wooden cover, I go back inside their institution. I am stone, I am ice. I will not look them in the eye. I will pass their barriers with practiced prison poise. In the ladies' room, finally, to the mirror, I show myself. Trembling, humiliated, disheveled, weeping, victorious.
Wonderful, Jean. Thank you. Vivian Shipley. No, unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. No, Vivian. Unmute yourself, Vivian. How can I get her to unmute yourself?
I'm muted. Hello.
Okay. Hi, Dolly.
Visiting my sister, isolated by COVID-19 in the gardens at Depew Nursing Center. For my sister, Mary Alice, who died June the 2nd of 2021 of a brain tumor. Like a burglar casing out a house, I've been peering through a window for months. But today, I can visit Mary Alice if she's wheeled to a gazebo by her aide. Her face, a gravestone, weathered to a blank stare. I'm unable to quarantine my heart as her lips droop when I tell her who I am. Preserved by the salt air, her skin is smooth, like chambered timbers of a hulk that's been filled then emptied over the years by salt water. Some part of her brain must still hold the will she had to be beautiful, even when a tumor growing there has been scoured first by radiation, then rounds of chemo. Unlike a trawler stranded on sandy flats, low tide does not uncover portholes into her mind. Reminding her I suck my thumb, had to wear wide calf boots in high school, doesn't salvage childhood souvenirs. How long will the hull of her body refuse to cave, melt into Florida's foliage like a downed palm tree? Unlike my mother, the tumor in my sister's skull is quiet, subtle. Although I was the one who needed it, Mary Alice beaded a bracelet for our mother with silver, blue, and gold to path her way to heaven. Not once did my mother give her the look she reserved just for me. Sucking air through her teeth, eyebrows arched toward her scalp like a stretching cat. She never sniffed my sister's head like a melon, checking hair for smell of cigarettes, Jack Daniels, even pot. When I talked to boys on the phone, I stretched the spirals of black cord down the basement stairs. Hearing my whispers, she called me her misfortune, snatched the receiver so she could slam it down. My sister would find it strange to learn I've kept the mask she wore molded to fit over her head and bolt to a hospital table during radiation. When she is no longer here, I'll be able to stroke her acrylic cheeks, finger parentheses of the jaw. I'm glad now I resisted the urge to paint it like Spider-Man or Batwoman. There are cutouts for her mouth and nose, but none for her eyes, perhaps to prepare her for what cannot be seen. Unlike Cardia, Roman goddess of hinges, who had the power to open what was shut, I cannot lift the malignant mass from the socket of her brain so words might leak out, sentences crawl up her throat. Unable to decant herself into another vessel, if Mary Alice had something to ask me, some knowledge to impart, she has lost it now.
Thank you, Vivian.
Jack says hello.
Okay, Jody Weiner, Sag Harbor, New York. Jody, where are you?
I'm here. Okay, for Cora. Windows open to ocean, the Mermaid Coffee Shop was your dominion. A crisp pink uniform spanned your breasts, supported, I guessed, by a sensible cotton bra. Bobby pins held your gray hair. I couldn't place your age in relation to my mother's. You were a different species, Cora. Goddess of chicken salad, you lined up ingredients in perfect sequence, then whisked together ordinary bread, chicken, celery, mayo, salt, and pepper, precisely measured. Nestled in a turquoise vinyl booth, my mother, queen of TV dinners, and I devoured our sandwiches while she sought my thoughts. What meant the opal necklace sent by the widower who hadn't called in months? Was the rumor his wife had leapt off a roof true? Were tango classes and golf courses places to meet better men? Proud to be a confidant at age 9, I hazarded answers. But how to explain the extraordinary goodness, Cora, of your food? Your hands danced through each task. Water rang like music when you washed plates. Fully, you lived your calling. Undistracted by widowers gone missing or love run amok. Though I didn't picture it, somewhere you had a home, perhaps a daughter. No longer alive, Cora, you exist in a perpetual lunchtime in that sweet, breezy realm my mother and I strayed from decades ago.
Wonderful. Next is Deborah Garris from Murray Hill, New Jersey.
Thank you. Wonderland. We visit Kitty Wonderland every Saturday in July. It's not exactly the level of the Palisades with its sky ride, giant slide, saltwater pool, or the infamous cyclone. But what do we know? This is our Araby. My sister wears a pleated sundress and matching short cape fastened around her shoulders, patterns of tiny red rosebuds. We launch from our house arm in arm, skipping over cracks on the sidewalk, turn down the block, pass a farm. The cascading Ferris wheel appears like a huge butterfly. She says, the carousel music fills me like pitchers of iced lemonade. I've slung my brownie camera over my shoulder and carry a beaded purse with bills, some pennies, and a buffalo nickel. I pay our 50 cents admission. Today we choose the whip of spider tentacles. As the attendant shuts us in, we squeeze into the cab like two grapes on the vine. My sister's kangaroo pockets are stuffed with strawberry Bonomo's taffy, and we play tug of war and stretch the chewy candy between us, stuff our mouths. Riding the small train, we nibble caramel candied apples. At the penny arcade, win 3 goldfish, buy 2 sticks of pink cotton candy, imagining strands of angel's hair. As usual, she pleads with me to ride the kiddie roller coaster with her. I take photos of her acting like a little screech owl, with her head turning, with her cape wings horizontal. Click, click. Looking back at pictures of her in those mystic blue plastic sunglasses, too large for her sweetheart face, I think. Those were our Shirley Temple days. We ride Casper boats in circles in the man-made pool. I snap a shot of her glossy grin. She unscrews the steering wheel, waves it in the air as boys float by, sticks her tongue out at the camera. Boys on bumper cars call out, then whistle. One day they will take us on the flight to Mars, I say, as she frees her balloon, lets it vanish through the clouds.
Wonderful, Deborah. Really beautiful. Charlie Rossiter from Bennington, Vermont. Charlie Rossiter. Oh, there he is.
Got you. There you
So
go.
good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. But we can't tell our life story. That's illegal.
No.
A place of summer places. Dear old Lake Michigan is done up in December blues and grays. There are crow calls from the bluff-top trees, sparrow chirp. It's a pleasant enough day for a down vest and a wool beret, there on the porch swing, hung on 4 sturdy chains. The other houses are dark and still, summer places for summer people. A serious bicyclist speeds by in one of those streamlined helmets that comes to a point and back. In the other direction, a middle-aged woman in a baggy sweater strolls purposely along. Everyone to his and her own pace in this place of summer places by the lake, where daily cares might be forgotten. There are no street gangs in Lakeside, Michigan, 100 miles from cities. Politics and religious conflicts are in another universe. The Chianti up in the room is ready to be uncorked. Homemade rolls, brie, thin sliced beef. Behind the clouds, the sun is dropping. The lake is darkening with the sky. Mary Ellen wakes from a nap, smiles that smile and says, "Time to crack the bourbon."
Very good, Charlie. Wonderful. Roz Guidetta, Scotch Plains, New Jersey. Roz.
Okay. Dear John Goldberg, Dear John, forgive me for lying to you all those years ago. You invited me to see Leslie Uggams in a play, in New York City, and I, like an adolescent idiot, declined, said I was babysitting and couldn't get out of it, all because you were the original nerd, complete with black horn-rimmed glasses, dominating your arrogant but dorky face. All because girls of 14 worry too much about what their non-existent friends think of going out with social outcasts, even though you made me laugh so much in Latin too, as if Latin wasn't a sure sign of my own nerdiness. You were probably the smartest boy who ever paid attention to me, while I was the dumbest girl ever, trying so hard to befriend the popular girls who wanted nothing to do with my desperate self, and missing out on the people I was drawn to, but had to reject on principle. I bet you lived a Hollywood life, John, and are now a big producer who's grown into his looks. I bet you could still make me laugh.
Wonderful, Roz. Beautiful poem. Okay, Matt Spearing, Kingston, New York.
Book rescue. I'm home now, still slightly damp from the rain that started falling as I approached my car with a canvas tote bag full of books I just bought at the annual library fair that by now is drenched as a morning thunderstorm rolls through with bands of driving rain. Most books were under a tent on tables, though some were in boxes under the tables, and we all know how unreliable tents are at keeping out rain, especially if there's wind and the sides are open. So, home now, still slightly damp. I've admired the books I got, 2 signed, and have begun thinking of my purchases as a rescue because if I hadn't bought them and left when I did, they'd likely be wet now and as unwanted as a lame dog, blind in one eye, that growls at everyone who passes its pen in the pound and snaps at those who reach out to offer a treat, through the mesh before quickly moving on.
Wonderful, Matt. Thank you. E. Laura Goldberg, Washington, D.C.
Shorthand. Fusilli rigati is strewn about my plate as I eat lunch at the Italiano Ristorante near Pitman's College. My father wants me to be a secretary. I'd smooth the path of some great man, deciphering his mood from the shape of his lips, raised eyebrows. Between high school and college, I go daily into London. I'm there to learn dictation, form a field of curlicues, whether high or low between the lines, or the pencil pressing them hard or softly, so they read Cass or kiss, sing or sin. Instead, sitting under Chianti bottles in their straw sheaths hanging from the ceiling, I study Italian, vino and amore.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Kyle M. Gregory from Johnson City, New York. Kyle,
Supper.
are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Supper. 2 toddlers dressed in solid colors crouch knees to chest over a water runoff grate. They drop driveway pebbles through the cast iron lattice. Gravity accepts their stone offerings and carries them dutifully to the water below. They giggle and play in their curiosity. In the memory this photograph recreates, I sip a homemade iced tea and watch my sons learn the natural forces of the world. The cool summer breeze blown over the lake ruffles their wild blonde hair. The sun warms them. They run. They wrestle. They chase each other for no purpose other than to take turns being caught. Life is simple for us in this memory. They still know me, their father and caregiver. They know my voice because I read to them until we all fall asleep in the same bed. They squeal the names they have made up for our games. Tickling is surgery. Robot is me walking stiffly and making machine noises. Supper is when I take my favorite wooden cooking spoon and stir small toys and trinkets in a large steel stock pot. We sit together around the pot, take turns taste testing a soup only we can see. My eldest suggests a sprinkling of cheese. He shakes a few plastic farm animals over the pot. My youngest picks our cat up around her belly, waves her, legs dangling over the make-believe meal. He says her fur is spicy. We count while we cook. When they say it's ready, they clap and shout while I ladle Legos and Lincoln Logs into yellow bowls. We sit on the carpet together, 3 boys blowing over soup spoons, waiting for it to be safe.
Wonderful, Kyle. Next is Lois Marie Harrod from Hopewell, New Jersey. Lois Harrod, are you there? I don't know if that means she's not there. I don't hear anything. Lois, shout if you're there. Okay, I'm going to have to assume she didn't arrive. The next is Betsy Hearn from Urbana, Illinois. Betsy Hearn from Urbana, Illinois.
Disclosure. The epigram is by David Roberts. The archaeology of things is an archaeology of loss. These are the things that haunt her. Jack and Virginia, 2 china dolls, their strung bodies lying in a cardboard coffin. The way she lies in a shuttered room for hours without sleeping, unstrung by what she has not done and does not do. How the past stares at her with glass eyes, even as she cannot bear to look at color slides her father took with his black box camera. Photos her mother arranged neatly, year by year, so that someday someone would see them. How she cannot let go of what was hers, a pliable body and words published, remaindered, newly written in the mind's darkening room.
Wonderful, honey. Next is Brian Cates from Pomona, New York. Brian Cates.
Can you see me? I've unmuted.
Oh, yeah, now I can see you, Brian.
Madison Square, Obad. A police car screams down Fifth Avenue. Out of the way, out of the way, out of the way, out of the way. As Dawn hurls her blazing bomb over the heroic bronze head of Admiral David Glasgow Farragut. Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. Barbara pulls herself from her bench, heaves her feet, swollen like footballs inside torn galoshes, onto the pavement, and pushes her Gristiti shopping cart toward the old drinking fountain at the corner of the park. When she was young, Barbara might have raced to the park on roller skates, stooped to push the small brass button at the fountain's base, and jammed a finger over the nozzle to aim a jet of water at a girlfriend, giggling. Yes, Barbara was a girl once, as your mother and your grandma once were. Your sister, your aunt, your cousin, your wife, perhaps you. Were you a girl once? Playing hopscotch, jumping rope, dreaming of princesses and unicorns? The fountain bubbles up a mingy inch. She cups her hand, splashes water on her face, under her blouse, reaches down into her thrift store slacks. She leans, slurps like a dog, rubs a crusty finger across her gums. It tastes of brass. They say fear tastes like brass, also anger, also failure. She spits it on the flagstone and rushes to finish before the morning's work-bound hordes invade, flinging pity and loathing, each waving an invisible eviction notice.
Wonderful. Next is Diane Corey from Cresskill, New Jersey. Diane Corey.
Okay. The poem is Loving the Kitchen Orphans. An odd knife, lightweight forks, a spoon from a discarded set, and more, retrieved from my mother's kitchen, are now unwanted by most. Why had she saved these varied pieces? She who loved matching designs and hues? Perhaps in time she forgot to see, as she forgot so much else. My sister, now more like my mother than my mother was late in life, judges each unmatched utensil, ready to toss out. But I grab these kitchen orphans, loving the stories they carry. The first stainless steel teaspoon from childhood in the home on Sussex Road. Two lovely forks with the same shape, but different designs from who knows where. A cheap fork looking like it belongs in a school cafeteria. And of course, the no longer shiny, unserrated knife made in China, unattractive and left behind in a black checkers cab in Damascus after a picnic near a brook with newfound cousins. I cherish these mismatched pieces, loving the stories they tell when I ask, where have you been? Why are you here? Thank you.
Wonderful, Diane. Susan E. Ornagel, I'm sorry, I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name, Albany, New York.
It's Oringo.
Oringo, sorry, darling.
That's all right.
Orange. I really screwed that one up. All right, thanks.
You're not the only one. After graduation, now that you've graduated from this school on earth and left the household of my arms, I sit at the kitchen table, drumming the spoon against the empty coffee cup, feeling the weight of my hands. You are weightless now, unbound from aching ankles, knees, hips, not needing the heart, the breath that came so hard, but it's hard not to hear the news of your new existence, which I can't imagine, as I now can't imagine mine. I am a solitary astronomer, keeping watch on a mountain in California, aiming the filigreed steel of a radio antenna, cupped hand combing the night towards distant stars to find coherent patterns of sound, a hint that beyond us, something else endures.
Love it. Wonderful. Lavinia Kumar, Plainsboro, New Jersey. Lavinia.
Yes. My poem is What My Mother Left Behind. 1. Newspapers and more. Sometimes I find yellow news pages from 20, 30, 40 more years ago. An obituary, how to make a cloth rabbit, an article on silk stockings import quotas. Why are some pages kept? I have found photographs, a young girl, my mother, in horse and carriage with her mother, a wide picture of men, one her father, dressed for the hunt on horses, hounds grouped for the run. The Irish Independent, 1946, has news of Russian claims quislings in camps of war-displaced persons, and oranges finally to be in Dublin shops for Christmas, Valencia from Spain, later the Jaffas. I've hung her framed pressed flower bouquets, keep her unused flowers between blotting paper. Her paintings hang in rooms of niece, children, grandchildren. 2. Color. Lately, I have noticed green creeping into my shirts, a sweater, bed cover. Wonder if her attraction to this color also came as she grew older. She never lost her elegance, posture, or her matched shoes with handbag left from her 30s model days, and loved a glass of wine or liqueur. Recently, I asked my brother to make a White Russian. He told me this was her favorite cocktail. Perhaps I'm not the independent Irish soul I thought.
Wonderful. Jennifer Legier, Monterey, California. Jennifer, are you there?
I am. This one is a
Wonderful.
love letter to my father, and the title's from an Edward Liang quote. Like all Lewis men before him, he loved hunting, fishing, dogs, and his children. Each morning, he roused us from bed, singing at the top of his voice. Every sleeper waken, the sun is in the sky. Wake up, and hear the cuckoos cry. He named me after actress Jennifer Jones, did his best to turn me into the son he'd never have, taught me farming, how to drive the Caterpillar tractor, a stick shift Mack truck, bought me a 20-gauge shotgun. When I was a skinny, self-conscious teen, he took me to the high Sierras, helped me scale rocky canyon walls, slide Pazuki's balls of fire onto a barbed lure, cast my line into deep pools, deftly hook rainbow trout. As a married woman, I lived on one of his almond ranches, flood-irrigated 20 acres of orchard, assisted with autumn harvest, hauled carts of nuts to the huller. Later, as disabilities robbed him of mobility, tethered him to oxygen tank and walker, he held court at the local coffee house, bought me maple bars, black coffee, joked with other aging retired farmers. On the drive home, he warbled. The rings around her eyeballs were red instead of blue. Congestive heart failure, spinal stenosis couldn't extinguish his unique sense of humor. Thank you.
Wonderful, Jennifer. What a great picture. Next is Nancy Lubarsky from Cranford, New Jersey. Nancy, I saw you.
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
Hi, honey.
This is called Plus Size. At Lord & Taylor, I thumbed through the racks one last time. The plus-size mannequins call to me from above the escalator. I hear them whisper, but it's probably my own regret. They cluster together in 2s and 3s, stuck in perpetual stoutness. They dress in tight jeans, animal prints, trendy fashions, only wider and longer. They've been waiting for my final purchase. Their plastic fingers point to a dress, a coat, a patterned cape, then to me. They ask me where I've been, why I haven't been back. With no sense of time, they still remember the black suede skirt I bought for you years ago, a larger version of the one I owned, the one you wanted. It was the last time you let me help you. The skirt was still there in your apartment, along with other clothes, some with tags still on. I left it in your closet for someone else to take away.
Wonderful, Nancy. Thank you. Catherine Maggia from Fairfield, New Jersey.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Vanilla. I was 4 when my father taught me to lie. He took me to Connie Show's place. In retrospect, it might have been show, or shoe, or cho. The show was inside, in the bedroom. Connie positioned me in front of the TV with cartoons playing. It must have been 3 or 4 in the afternoon or Saturday morning at some reasonably respectable hour of children's programming. There was no cable back then, only network television. It was before the VCR, although Connie wouldn't have had children's cartoons, as Connie had no children. She turned the volume to maximum and left me with a dish of vanilla ice cream. It was always Neapolitan at my house, trio of tart strawberry, overpowering chocolate, and filler vanilla. Strawberry was always first to go, and vanilla, plain vanilla, was the last. Later, my father told me to say, "We went to the park," if my mother asked. Why, I wondered. He said Mother would throw him out of the house if she knew, and of course I wouldn't want that. I didn't. I lied to my mother. These days, I never eat vanilla ice cream.
Wonderful, Catherine. Thank you. Elizabeth Marchetti, Totowa, New Jersey. Elizabeth? I know I saw John before, so I know you have to be there. I think you're there. I don't know. Elizabeth Marchetti? I saw John before. I know it.
Yeah, her internet is not working properly. She keeps in and out, so she might be not there right now.
All right, remind me to call her after. Mitch Delmonico of Venice, California. Mitch Delmonico.
Hi, yes, I'm here. Thank you. Hammer and nails. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Hammer and nails. This is only some of what my maternal grandfather taught me. How to mix cans of paint, cut new screens, remove the old mesh, the pushed in, the torn, and install the new. How to cut keys, how to pick a lock and a perfectly ripened tomato. How to shave, sew on a button, iron, how to pound a nail, to figure out how to fix something, which I guess they'd call analytical thinking, but he just called getting it done. How to tell a story, to handle adversity, how to listen to music, to show compassion, how to be brave.
Wonderful, Mitch. I loved it. Beautiful poem. Mercy Mulligan, Paramus, New Jersey. Where are you, Mercy?
Right here. Hi, Maria. Hello, everyone.
Hi, dear. Hello.
This is Unveiled. My parents wanted to hide their money from each other. My sister and I learned this when they passed. Hidden money waiting to be stolen by tenants, lawyers, judges. Did my parents think the money would eventually come to us, their 2 children and 10 grandchildren? Help with constant financial emergencies? It never did. Not 1 penny. Distrust is expensive. I wonder what else my parents hid. My sister and I share our daily lives, her dedication to gardening, my passion for poetry, our wishful thinking. There is no need to hide our truth.
Lovely. Paula Reed Nancaro, St. Paul, Minnesota.
No. Didn't think there'd be 2 brownies in this reading, but there are. The brownie, their young ghosts drawn through the keyhole window. In the first photograph, a man divides them. One leans coquettish on his shoulder, her hips angled outward so as not to be too close to his. She is my grandmother. Then a thinner, younger version of my grandfather dressed in his Sunday best, high collar, bow tie, suit coat, his vest with its watch chain grin. And the other girl, prim but heedless of proximity. Maybe Aunt Peg, whose back spiral staircase I played on as a child. For this reason, that she was real to me, I decide it must be her. No clue who held the brownie, saw the dim lit mirror reversed image, clicked the shutter and hoped for the best. In the second, two friends together, minus any men. My grandmother in a gingham checked dress, boat collared with a store-bought belt, a farm girl getting above herself with that store-bought belt, that bobbed hair. My maybe Aunt Peg, long hair pulled back, straw hat in hand, one grin, one Mona Lisa smile. They stand on rubble at the entrance to Penn's cave. Later, I find I'm wrong, then wrong again. The man I thought my grandfather, youngest of 17, the one my gran leans into, smiling, is not him. My dad is certain. That's Uncle LaRue, he says. My grandfather must be behind the camera, looking into the reverse image. The other woman is Esther, my grandmother's best friend. She will marry LaRue. But Grandma really seems to like him, I say. My father sips his bitter morning brew. Everyone liked LaRue, I'm told. Your grandfather was a different story.
Wonderful. I love the sardonic ending. Nina Paddles, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Nina?
Hello.
Hi,
Can
dear.
everyone hear me?
Yep.
Great. The accusation. After she left her childhood home, where memories were stored in cookie jars, tucked in blankets, digging for treasures in clay mud, stand still. Sounds from 8 tracks, the Beatles, Boz Scaggs, fade blue into boxes the way things often do. No longer a member of Heberton Street, the girl running barefoot uphill, dreams toss and turn with time. Fairies flutter flutes on younger fingers from childhood home to high rise. With crotchety old guys, envious wrinkled women who swim at the outdoor pool, darkening already fragile skin. Still young, not done being a teen, holds on to sounds of laughter, that sweltering summer day, that the fire hydrant shared freezing water, and you wore a white t-shirt only to hear your childhood crush make you blush, overexposed developing round mounds. Or that even younger version, blowing out candles on the round birthday cake with yellow and pink roses placed at the center of the table, surrounded by friends and the screened-in back porch. When your dad pressed his face against the glass door and silly giggles echoed along with those happy moments, soon you'd be 16, leaving it all behind. No more house parties in the high rise, except when you tried to be slick, when mom left on a date and came home to cops questioning why beer bottles were tossed from the 11th floor balcony. And that little girl flew away like Tinkerbell until she landed, realized there's no escape from this situation, left alone trying to explain why 2 letters, E and S, are missing from the outside sign, Essex, now sex house. A scandalous display, fingers point your way, too old to pretend and too young to know why someone would assume that you were the culprit of this crime.
Wonderful. Next is Marion Paganello from Fair Lawn, New Jersey. Marion.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, sweetie.
Okay, this is called I Am Listening. You are riding like a great force, unleashed, sure-footed and swift, like a girl running with her kite. The kite, her exultant core, the tails, her gorgeous, challenging. I am speaking to you in my tongues. All those startling words, spooling, trailing out behind, like tails lifted aloft, dancing on the wind of your will, your voice, adamantine, adamant, unapologetic. I hear you because I am listening. I sit up straight, attuned to every nuance of your cadence. Oh, how I wish that I had had a teacher like you when I was in high school. Someone to show me all the fires and all the inlets and the whole endless reach of that bluest sky, where you send up your poems like those kites to dance above us all. Exotic birds in a surprise of movement, with their beckoning swoops and dives, their grace which looks so effortless and so exultant. How is it that when we give voice to our fears, they evanesce, and when we give voice to our dreams, they take shape? I think now on those luscious rhododendron blossoms you told us about, like a petaled heart beating in your chest, like a tattoo, like a testament, like a yearning. I am listening. I am learning. Tell me more.
Wonderful, Marion.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Penny Perry from Rainbow, California. Penny Perry. Are you there, Penny? Penny Perry? Okay, she must not be here. I don't know. Alma Cole Passaic from Vineland, New Jersey. Alma Cole Passaic. Here or not? You have to yell if you're here. Okay, not here. Maud Carolyn Pick, Totowa Borough. I saw her.
I'm here.
Daddy's culinary adventures. Daddy would eat anything. There are vivid recollections from deep in my memory bank of him sitting at the kitchen table, unscrewing the lid of a big glass jar of pickled pig's feet. We children screwed up our faces, turned up our noses, and uttered audible, ew. That's the same response we gave to head cheese and beef tongue from the deli. The names alone were enough to make us squirm. Sometimes he'd come home carrying a brown oil-stained bag of little mutton pies. He'd dig in as if they were tasty delicacies, which to him, I'm sure, was exactly what they were. Mommy would cater to his wishes, slowly simmering tripe to order. When some tomatoes failed to ripen in the garden, she'd slice the green ones, bread them in egg and cornmeal, and fry them in a pan for Daddy. Other times she'd rustle up some scrapple in a skillet and serve it with sunny side eggs. I never cared to know what ingredients went into that. Daddy's culinary adventures included brewing a crock of beer in the spare room, I can still remember it foaming and the smell of it fermenting. He even tried his hand at making root beer. That experiment turned out to be flat and completely fizzless, but he bottled it anyway, and we drank every drop. Every Saturday evening, as we all gathered to watch television, Mom would prepare a plate for him of Limburger cheese and Ritz crackers. We held our noses, but oh, that was his favorite treat of all. I suppose his culinary adventures eventually piqued my curiosity because when I grew up, I sampled a few unusual tidbits myself, like 1,000-year-old eggs and whole deep-fried prawns, crunchy shells, antenna, eyes and all, while vacationing in China, and that chewy octopus sandwich from a box lunch on board the bullet train in Japan, and conch at a resort in the Bahamas. So I guess I must admit it, Daddy's crazy culinary adventures have definitely rubbed off on me.
Thank you, Maud. That was wonderful. Deb Rial from Northfield, New Jersey.
Hi,
Yes.
I'm here. These hands once so carefully groomed, fingernails now yellow, cracked, too long. Note to self, bring a nail file next visit. The joints are a bit crooked. Do they hurt you? I wondered, knowing she couldn't answer. But she gripped my hand with remarkable strength. These hands milked cows, dug potatoes in the old country, then bleached, washed, carefully ironed clothes for the rich folks here in this new land to complement the laborer's wages earned by her loving husband. These hands carefully tied bows on the waists of her girls' handmade dresses, made sure everyone was clean and fed, gently stroked the brow of a sick child. Later, wrote birthday cards for each grandchild, inserted a precious dollar before walking the envelope down the lane to the mailbox. These hands, now gnarled and weak, always so full of love. Thank you.
Wonderful. That makes me smile. Now, I got something in the chat, and I think it was from Penny Perry saying she's here.
It was from Alma Cole.
Yes. Who is it? I'm sorry, I'm confused.
It was Alma.
Did I call Alma?
Yes, you did, but she didn't answer. I see her too.
I'm weird. I'm wondering whether I'm losing my mind. I don't see it.
It's number 28, Maria.
Oh, all right. Oh, I'm sorry. Alma Cole Passaic from Vineland, New Jersey. Alma?
I see her, but she's not unmuting.
I think she said something about having
Oh,
trouble.
there she is. Unmute, Alma. Unmute yourself.
And she, Smina, can you unmute her?
I can, Maria. She has to do herself. I cannot.
She is unmuted. Okay, Alma?
Tell her the unmute is on the lower left. Maybe that'll help.
The unmute is on the lower left-hand side. Okay, Alma, while you figure it out, I'm going to go on to somebody else. Jennifer Romanello, Rockville Center, New York. Jennifer Romanello, Rockville Center, New York.
Yeah, here. Thank you. Calabrian recipes. Zucchini flowers dipped in thin dough, their smell while frying, wafting through the summer air. My best friend Judy, incredulous, we ate flowers. My favorites, peppers and potatoes, pasta and piselli, ceci and rice. Sunday mornings carried the aroma of sausage, veal, meatballs simmering in sauce for our family feast after Mass. Bow tie cookies appeared with afternoon espresso. Once we shelved fava beans on the porch outside, watching a rainstorm make its way towards us. A lifetime searching for the taste of the ones we shelved after you cooked them that day. I never paid attention, never asked about your Calabrian recipes, culinary secrets, resented your back to us at the stove or washing dishes. I did not want to become that woman. I wanted to become the woman who recited Leopardi, read I Promessi Sposi, ran through a field blooming with margaritas.
Oh, wonderful. The food reminds me of my own family, though, and it was delicious. I didn't couldn't cook it, but was delicious. Danny Romero from Sacramento, California. I know I saw you before, Danny.
Yes, I am here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
This is called The First Step. We invited danger on the walls of the LA River, big bold letters in black spray paint, nicknames and neighborhoods, a limited vocabulary, old-time rivalries that never end. All the boys write their placazo on the way to homeboy with style to say, I am here. That first step into the street. The question remaining, where will I go?
Wait, something's wrong. Okay, now, I don't know who that was, but somebody was interrupting you. Go back a few lines and keep going, Danny.
Okay, all right. So I'll back up a little bit. All the boys write their placazo on the way to homeboy with style to say, I am here. That first step into the street. The question remaining, where will I go? Thank you.
Wonderful, Danny. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in 20 years, I don't think.
That's right. Nice to see you as well.
Okay, wait a minute. Lee Rossi from San Carlos, California. Lee Rossi.
Hi.
Can
you hear me?
Wait. I don't know who the hell is making that noise. I'm getting crabby now. All right.
Everybody needs to mute themselves except me and Maria, I think.
Right.
Okay.
Could you mute yourselves? Make sure you're muted. Okay. Lee Rossi.
All right. Thank you, Maria. The poem is called Consider This. It's on page 133 of the book. I like poets who think in their poems. I myself am incapable of thought. Every time I try, I end up in contradiction or tautology. Thinking is one of those expensive cul-de-sacs with no way in and no way out. The folks who live there are happy with their neighbors, content with their 4,000 square feet of rapture, their patios, barbecues, and infinity pools. No friend visits, but neither do strangers, are the homeless. Sipping Mai Tais, they shade their eyes from the skyborne glare, waving wistfully as helicopters and commercial jets thunder by. Meanwhile, I find myself wandering along some unfamiliar street, stunned by the roar of the traffic, another passerby, stranded in the present.
Wonderful, Lise. Thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Margaret Sirocco, Montclair, New Jersey.
Yes, ma'am, I am here. Thank you. Bricks, curtains, and the Sunday comics. I come from immigrant grandparents, bricklayers, and stonemakers who built their own church when no others would welcome them, where men left their sweat in stone and priests implied heaven gates would open for their loved ones if they worked for free, but no one could test their theory, where alms dropped into wicker baskets on long sticks, passed through pews on Sundays to help the poor, never made it to the poor. I come from modesty and learning how to be good, and from families that grew larger every year and food scarcer. I come from a home cleaned daily with smells of bleach, ammonia, and lemony furniture polish, where cleanliness was next to godliness, but sometimes it just meant clean, since God was difficult to find. I come from a place where in winter, double layer curtains kept warmth inside and the rest of the world at arm's length, where sweet aromas of baked butter cookies blended with gravy for Sunday dinner. I come from a father of pure love who cut the lawn and made breakfast on Saturdays, read the comics aloud on Sundays, and never spoke of his Pacific wartime nightmares. I come from a mother of pure love and strength who kept us in line with a moral compass, refused to wear black until my father died unexpectedly, and then she couldn't take it off for years. I come from an interlocked clan that was hard to break from, and as years passed, easier to break from, yet harder to return. I come from families who accepted their place. Men worked and women worked, and everyone knew their place except me. Thank you.
Margaret, wonderful. I love that poem.
Thank you.
Find where I am. The next person, somebody has to mute. Please mute. Okay, thank you. Nola Segundo, pen name L.J. Carver from Morristown, New Jersey. Nola Segundo, here or not? Okay, Ken Silvestri from Nyack, New York.
Hi, Maria.
Hi, dear. Oh, there you are.
Okay. John's house. It was a great solace having him living nearby. His basement hideaway, making wine, smoking weed, playing darts. In the middle of the night, I would wake up, no one to relate to. I would walk a short distance through his garden. To the left of his fig trees, a cellar door swung open. Knocking, he would say, "Shh, don't wake up my mom," whom I always called Mrs. in my Eddie Haskell voice. Then pick up where we left off a few nights before. On the wall, a calendar of each day's significance. On my birthday, food stamps were first offered in 1946. A year later, on his, when the first hot air balloon was launched. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Wonderful. Next is Seema Tapper from West Orange, New Jersey. Seema Tapper.
I am here. Thank you. Page 110 for those who are watching. First doll, soft cloth body, plaster hands, feet, and head, blue eyes set open and closed. Daddy said her name was Susabella. I said Susie Bell. I was thinking she doesn't have any hair. In the morning, I climbed out of my crib, took Susie Bell in my arms, whispered, I'm going to give you some of my hair. Tiptoed into the kitchen, opened the everything drawer, found the scissors, sat down on the linoleum, cut my hair. My curls kept sliding off Susie Bell's head. Mommy and Daddy woke up to my howls. Mommy picked me up, explained that Susie Bell had a different kind of hair. Let's have French toast for breakfast.
Seema, no wonder you're as sweet as you are. Sue Brannon Walker, Mobile, Alabama. Sue Brannon Walker, Mobile, Alabama. Where's Sue? I hope you're here. Sue's the editor of Negative Capability. And I've actually never met her. I've corresponded with her. Is she here? Well, I guess not. No. All right. Arlene Wiener, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Arlene?
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
Oh, hi.
You can hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Page 137. Lament for cursive. It has an epigraph. Time does not flow, Carlo Rovelli. My mother looks up, sees atop her closet in the nursing home a photograph of my brother and me that she tinted by hand. Look at the pictures. When I see them, I'm happy. Starlight is coming toward us from extinct stars. In those days, we dressed for photographs, a special occasion, so my hair's tight permed, soon to relax into its usual straightness. We all have plans for a tree house in a tree that fell on the wires next door. We all carry keys to a house that burnt down. Look at the pictures. Look. Thank you.
Wonderful. Dick Welsheimer from Batavia, Ohio.
Hello all, page 210 for those following along at home. This is Lessons from the Book of Bill. Bill talked to cashiers like they were people. Hey, how you doing? He'd ask, all friendly like, and he meant it. He wanted to know how Susie or Bonnie Lou or Thelma were doing. And they'd smile and chat while ringing up our order, which would be a 6-pack or a copy and a copy of the New York Review of Books or Sports Illustrated. We'd go back to Bill's and talk about how Magic told Michael to pass the damn ball, or how Jeffersonian agrarianism was really communalism, and how Bill met Laura while he was hitchhiking to visit Denise Livertoff, but never made it because when he stayed over at Steve's place in NYC, Bill and Laura disappeared for a week in Steve's back room, got to know each other real well, and emerged already hitched, it seemed. Bill made his friends, my friends, all the buddies he studied with at Catholic high school back in the day when they taught Latin and the great books. All his friends thought Dorothy Day was a hero, and every one of the guys and their wives treated me like a brother. Each was smart and good and raised their kids right and welcomed strangers into their home to stay as long as they needed. And Steve, every year, he sends me woodcut prints of the Virgin Mary. He carves and inks, and they are beautiful, but they are of the Virgin Mary, who I know is someone important, but not much else. And every year he invites me to Margot's annual surprise birthday party. Surprise, because you never know who's going to show up. I went to the party once and hung out with some of the folks, but went to bed early because I didn't know most of the other 100 or so there. I'd eaten a lot of Margot's Christmas cookies, which had tons of butter in them and which messed me up for a few days, but they were so good. When we got on the Zoom surprise party last night, I was feeling left out because all these folks talked about was Christmas this and show your Merry Christmas that and Christmas sweaters and Christmas wreaths and Christmas stockings and Christmas trees and ornaments and lights and funny Santas and sleds, even though the Christmas was a month away. And they acted as if everyone made Christmas. And I wanted to show them my menorah, but it looked pretty pitiful. Just this little tarnished thing covered in candle wax. So I didn't, and felt like this was a very unholy day that made me feel so shitty. Then I asked Margot if she had any cookies to serve us. We were on a Zoom because that was the only Christmas thing that came to mind. And she left her screen and came back with a plateful of beautiful Windsor tarts and gingerbread and thumbprints and crinkles. And Margot seemed so happy to talk about her cookies. And I wanted to jump right through the screen and give her a big hug. And I asked her, "Hey, how you doing?" And she told me the times were pretty rough. That told me about her chemo. And I'm glad she has Christmas. And I'm glad she has Steve. And glad Steve has Bill. And I feel kind of bad that I felt so bad about Christmas.
Wonderful. Really wonderful. Denise Wilcox from Keswick, Virginia. Denise, are you with us? Okay, if I don't hear.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, where are you, honey?
Okay. Old Italian proverb. You are what I was. I am what you will be. Mom first gifted me with this old Italian proverb when I was 32 and a new mother. I remember the pure joy radiating from her eyes as she wrapped her arms around me, her grandchild. You are what I was. I am what you will be. With only 3 days of motherhood experience, I didn't get it. After 10 sleepless nights, aching deep into the marrow of my bones, I remembered family stories of my older brother, colicky, and up all night after night after night. And in that first year of parenthood, when I had prepared pasta fagioli for the third time in 2 weeks, because we had to buy amoxicillin and beans were cheaper than chicken, I remembered Mom's story about eating a jar of baby food and Daddy stretching a bag of peanuts into lunch and dinner, hanging on until the next paycheck. You are what I was. I am what you will be. I was starting to get it. Summers were for grandma visits, breakfast at her kitchen table, thick slabs of crusty bread, warm milk tinted with coffee, warmer smiles. Why did we go that winter of my 12th year? How did my mom know that her mom would die that week? I remember coming home from school, Mom sitting at our kitchen table, tears tumbling into her ashtray, reassuring me she was fine, just missing her mom. And now these words are carved into my heart. You are what I was. I am what you will be. Moments sneak up behind me, slam me to the ground, remind me I am a motherless daughter. Today, I am grandma, full to the brim with tender toddler kisses, overflowing with joy, watching my daughter cradle her babe. Mom's proverb is ready to be handed down, like recipes and smocked dresses. You are what I was. I am what you will be. Thank you.
Wonderful. That was a wonderful poem. Marie Gray Wise, Mount Laurel, New Jersey. She with us?
Yes, I am here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm on page 143, if you want to follow. Okay, it's called Not Just Shiny Things. She had jewels long before she married the gambler, earned them by trudging through the pre-dawn, a small woman wheeling her tractor-like Oldsmobile over the barely visible Delaware, down through Chinatown, to a red brick factory at 12th and Race, where she sewed hems all day. Once, when the car broke down, she struck out through snow to the bus with a webbed bag of grapefruit swinging from her wrist at each step, glinting like giant circles of gold drawn from the sea. But she had to make it, to treadle her way to garnets and diamonds for her daughters and granddaughters, shining signs that this immigrant's daughter had made it. There is no poverty here. Meeting a jilted lover 30 years later, she took a promise from his mouth for an engagement diamond as large as Mia Farrow's 9-carat rock, and got it. She knew her worth, and she knew the importance of jewels. Thank you.
Wonderful. Next is Warren Wolsner from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Warren? Are you there, Warren?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good.
What have you been doing for 40 years? Anyway, my poem is called Closing the Ranks. 1. My eyes have seen some deaths, but getting the news on the phone can be worse. I wasn't there and still blame my mother for not telling me my father had only a few hours left when I was 1,200 miles away. 2. The way it was when she died, the family all there should have been comforting. But I knew she no longer could see the bird feeder I put up just outside her window or know what it was. 3. It was a sad surprise to read that fill in the blanks had died. Every day, some figure important in my past or even my present is gone. Why don't I feel lucky? The day we were born, our DNA ordered all of us out of the trenches and straight into enemy fire. Even a few survived Gettysburg. On my desk, there is a Navajo pot. A trader in Arizona sold me in 1968. I have since filled it with bones. 5. Some days I feel like my past life is in some lost and found room. Maybe it is in the briefcase I left behind at Logan, but I got that back. 6. My body has begun to fall off like an old suit or my Coors t-shirt I've worn out and can't even give away, until only I will be left standing to watch it turn into dust again and blow away.
Wonderful. Thank you. I haven't seen you in 40 years. Gita Bonar, Ringwood, New Jersey. Gina?
Yes, hi, Edita. Yeah, I'm here. So my poem is on page 132. With you. In the backyard, among blades of tall grass, dandelions' yellow heads turn white. Children snap hollow milky stems, then blow at the fluffy tufts to plant pixie dust. In the Andes, stray dogs rattle their bones, run after taillights of cars perched on a dirt road lit only by the moon, stars pointing to a gorge where unheard prayers plunge if wheels skid and fail to grip. This much I know. I like the magic of dandelions you defend against neighbors when our meadow blooms in June with weeds. I like to sunbathe in our backyard with you. I like silences you recognize and know by names as if they were stars on a cloudless night. I like that I was unafraid to drive on a death road with you. This much I know. I want to be with you on the road with a dead end. Thank you.
Wonderful, honey. Christine Aikens Wolf from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Christine, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good. Oh, hi, Christine.
Bread. I'm lucky enough to have lived with two bread makers. Makers, creators, lovers of bread. Roberto De Niro, our house guest, not that movie fellow, but let's move on, came to us from Italy, north of Venice, the province of Udine, a researcher with a small firm pulled to Pittsburgh from Yale. Lived with us January to May 2014. Loved my Howard's cooking. To augment it, he made us bread in a cast iron skillet, the New York Times no-knead bread. And the loaves roll out of a volcano hot oven, large, round, and crusty. We had dinner parties once a month. And as our guests, other neighbors, Kristen, Stephanie, Erica, et al., rolled in, they called out, "I hope Roberto's made us bread." Of course he had. Then, just before he left us, witty Erica asked Howard if he'd take up the burden of the bread and delight us. Howard's nod was no surprise. He now makes several loaves with or without olives, all sourdough. At a recent dinner we shared with neighbors, as everyone awaited Howard's ravioli, all his food's worth waiting for, Erica raised a wine glass in one hand and bread in the other. I want to say as we start the meal that I believe man or woman can live by bread alone.
Wonderful. Next, Jason Craig Poole from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Oh, wait, no longer from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. From South Orange, I think.
South Orange, right.
Okay, great. Jason?
This is called In My Grandparents' Basement. The seven of us stand in a lopsided circle, each holding the treasures we found while exploring our grandparents' basement. I'm sure I have the coolest treasure of all, an old leather-bound book with hand-drawn maps that looks like a pirate's atlas. Stephanie says, "Hey guys, look what I found in the bassinet." And she holds up a giant doll that looks like a real baby in a tea-stained christening gown. Blonde ringlets of hair peek out from under its lacy bonnet. She turns the baby for us to see, and Lindsay says, "Ooh, what's wrong with her face?" The doll's eyes, half open, roll around in their sockets, and its once peach-toned face has turned a sickly shade of green. My sister says, maybe if you push on her stomach, she'll blow kisses like that doll I got for Christmas. The other cousins agree we should give it a try, and they hand the doll to me because at 12, I'm the oldest in the group and should have the honor and responsibility. And even though they don't say it, I know they're a little afraid. I lay the baby on her back on the cold tile floor, and everyone squats down and leans in. With 2 fingers, I push hard on the doll's soft belly in a half-hearted attempt at CPR, and a funky cloud of sour air puffs from the doll's pink mouth. The kids scream, hold their noses, and scramble up the stairs to the safety of the grown-ups in the kitchen. And that's when it hits me. The green glow of her face is a forest of mold beneath her pale plastic skin, probably growing for decades after one of my aunts fed her real milk from a baby doll's bottle. I carry her to the faded armchair in the corner beside the old vanity with the brushes and the shell combs. Then I pick up the leather-bound book of old maps from the floor and I walk up the stairs. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Wonderful. Now, there were a couple of people that We're not here, so if you're here now, make yourself known. Who was the person who couldn't get on?
It was Alma.
All right, Alma, would you like to go now? Alma, are you there? No. Who else? There was one other person.
Elizabeth Marchetti.
There was Lois Harrod.
Yeah, okay, Lois Harrod. Yes, no?
Alma, you're on. now.
What?
Alma is on now. She's been having trouble with her. Well, now she's got the mic back on.
She keeps coming on and off. And
There, now you're on.
It's making too much noise.
All right, you want to
That's
try?
it.
Alma?
She's there, but she can't unmute it, Maria, for some reason.
I'm sorry you can't unmute it. We would have loved to have heard your poem. Is there anything else, anybody else that I have missed who would like to take a turn now? Otherwise, I really enjoyed the reading. I'm sorry about Alma not being able to get on. And it's the problem of technology. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. I think we should give ourselves a round of applause for the wonderful reading, for the beautiful poems, for all that you were able to contribute to this issue, which I think is really strong and full of amazing poems. And I thank all of you for being part of it. I hope you remember to submit again another time. And if you're in the area, I hope you'll come to one of the workshops or one of the readings at the Poetry Center. I hope you also, nobody else gets sick with COVID, and we have a sick-free next year, okay? We want to have no more illnesses, no more pandemics. And let's give another round of applause for everybody. Now you can unmute yourself and give a round of applause. Thank you for reading. Thank you for being part of PLR.
Thank you.
Grazie.
Maria.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, Maria.
Everybody.
Nice to meet you.
Bye,
Everybody, great
everybody.
reading.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Wonderful
Ciao.
work. Wonderful work.